Hello, everyone. I'm Betsy Peterson, the director of the American Folklife Center at the Library of Congress. I want to welcome you and thank you for choosing to tune in today. In 1976, the American Folklife Center, much like the Veterans History Project, was established by the United States Congress. Its extensive collection includes audiovisual documentation of traditional arts, cultural expressions, and oral histories, and offers researchers access to the songs, stories, and other creative expressions of people from diverse communities around the country. Just like the Folklife Archives collections of the Civil Rights Oral History Project or the more recent acquisition of the AIDS Memorial Quilt Archives, the Veterans History Project illuminates how the patchwork of the individual experiences are strengthened when they are pieced together. The Veterans History Project is dedicated to collecting, preserving, and making accessible the firsthand memories of our nation's veterans so that all may hear directly from them of their service and sacrifice. Whether in what may seem mundane or perhaps more dramatic circumstances, as they served our country, they bore personal witness to our collective history. Veterans are the backing fabric of our communities, sometimes seemingly invisible perhaps, but always integral. They may be our neighbors, our teachers, our postal carriers, small business owners. They are our family. And like many of you, U.S. military service is a part of my family. My grandfather, father, brothers, cousins, and uncles all served. And it is from a similar connection to service within families and communities across the country that this collection of over 111,000 narratives in 20 years has been achieved. And because of you, or people just like you, who listened and recorded or gathered the stories of the veterans in our lives, the project renews understanding of the human experience of conflict, not just in the moment the oral histories are created, but again, and perhaps again, through the films, books, family genealogy efforts, speeches, murals, music, and even dance, inspired by these stories. All of this we together create and we preserve. While there are more veterans to reach and more stories to gather, now is a moment to remark on those that we have. It is my privilege to thank the current director, herself a veteran, Colonel Karen Lloyd, U.S. Army retired, and the staff of the project for their careful, creative, and constant efforts to further this mission. Equally, it is my pleasure to congratulate the previous directors, from the very first, Ms. Ellen Lovell, to the longest-serving director, Bob Patrick, himself a veteran, as well as Beverly Lindsay and Diane Kresh, all of whom have had an enormous hand in reaching today's success for the Veterans History Project. Thank you, too, for what you've done and what I know you will contribute to in this living legacy as we go forward. As you will see through this series of events marking the 20th anniversary, the act of participating in the project, its collection, and the works it inspires are diverse, surprising, instructive, and even life-changing, because their stories are our stories.
Hi, I'm Barbara Martin. My brother Dennis Martin died in a helicopter crash in Vietnam, July 10th, 1970. It created a huge hole in our family, and we didn't talk about it for years. 30 years later, I went home to visit my parents, and my mother handed me a wooden box full of Denny's letters that he'd written to my parents. I took them upstairs and read them all and cried and cried. I took them home with me, and it took me 10 years to open that box again and read the letters again and cry some more. Then I realized I needed to do something with those letters, and being a musician, I knew it would be musical. I also knew I needed to preserve the letters. So I drove up to DC to the Veterans History Project and gave Monica Mahindra Denny's letters. I was expecting kind of a stuffy bureaucrat at the Library of Congress, but Monica turned out to be such a warm person, and we had a great conversation. I started to get to know the community of people who'd been touched by the Vietnam War. I was asked to perform for Sons and Daughters in Touch at their Father's Day celebration or ceremony at the Wall. So I had my mission to write a song from those letters. Words on a faded letter, written by the Vietnam rain. 40 years, they still bring the anger and the pain. Medals and monuments cannot make up the cost of the life you never got to live, and innocence we lost. I won't wave the flag or sing the words, but I know my silence will be heard, 'cause I'll honor you with every breath. I won't forget. Skipping school and swimming down by the river that time, laughing at the rules we broke, little jokes and little crimes. You didn't have a choice when they called your name. You were just a number without a voice. No matter what they say, I won't wave the flag or sing the words, but I know my silence will be heard, 'cause I'll honor you with every breath. I won't forget. Your name stands here before me in stone, side by side, on a wall that stretches on and on with the thousands who have died. Some say there's a reason for this insanity, but I'll never understand how war can make us free. I won't wave the flag or sing the words, but I know my silence, it will be heard, 'cause I'll honor you with every breath. I won't forget. I won't forget. I won't forget. Around the same time, I started to get to know a woman from right here in the Shenandoah Valley, Holly Watts. She had been a donut dolly in Vietnam and wrote a wonderful book of poetry about her experiences that was later used as the basis for a movie. One day Holly called me and said, "Hey, why don't we go up to DC on Memorial Day?" I'd never done that before, so I said, sure. She also told me about Dick Epstein and his writer's tent, so I signed up to do a few songs there. We got to the lawn in DC and I was overwhelmed with the scene there. There were all kinds of people. There were military people in full uniform. There were motorcycle people with leather vests. There were people of every age. What really struck me was the unity that I felt in that gathering. Generals in uniforms, Harleys and tattoos, T-shirts say which side they're on, white gloves on guns give their salutes, faces old and young, from D-Day to Iraq. We've traveled here to honor those who never made it back. Opening the wounds, a battle fought, a comrade gone, a loved one torn away too soon. Lonely trumpet cries to those frozen now in bronze. Though we know our hearts cannot be healed by speeches and songs, we gather to remember. Sons and daughters and survivors reflect on what they died for as we gather to remember. We stand here together, united for a moment in silent prayer. We gather they died for as we gather, to remember. One of the great gifts I got from the whole process that started with bringing Denny's letters to the Veterans History Project is all the connections I made. Jack McCabe, who is a writer, contacted me and told me that he was writing a book about the helicopter crash that Denny died in. We had many, many phone conversations. And through Jack and his research, I learned the story of exactly how Denny died. He died going back in to drag out people from the helicopter. He went in twice, and the third time he went in, he didn't come back out again. It was quite a shock to find out exactly how he died 50 years later. Also through Facebook, I connected with Susan Sundberg, Denny's widow, and after 50 years, we reunited and shared our experiences. When Denny was in Vietnam, I was demonstrating against the war. This caused a big rift in my family because my parents didn't agree with my political views. So when Mom gave me the letters, I realized that all along they'd known how Denny felt about the war. Denny was very clear in his letters. He was angry at the war. He was disappointed. He felt that the war was being run in a wrong way. So it really broadened my perspective and my view on the war, meeting all these different people that were involved in the war after 50 years. So this is a song that I wrote about all the many views and perspectives that come between our black and white views. Used to walk down a narrow road, my eyes fixed straight ahead, only seeing what I was taught to see. Never ventured beyond the lines drawn, and I made my bed in the house that my father built for me. I used to see the black over white, high or low, wrong or right, and it used to be I saw them either stand with me or stand against. But now I see the world is round, not flat, with a million colors between white and black. Turned away from what didn't fit, but nothing